Good morning, judges. We're from Parinama Academy in the US. I'm Ariv.
I'm Mohit.
Amabi.
I'm Surya.
I'm Rohan.
And I'm Satvik.
Today we'll be discussing the topic, the sharing economy, reshaping markets and social norms. Our presentation is divided into two parts. First, we'll address three short answer questions that explore the fundamental economic principles of the sharing economy. Second, we'll present our comprehensive three-part solution to a problem-solving question concerning a coastal town's housing crisis.
The first question asks us to analyze dynamic pricing in a rideshare market. Dynamic pricing is a key tool platforms use to manage supply and demand in real time. During high demand periods like rush hour, prices surge. This affects the market in two ways. First, for demand, the higher price causes a movement along the demand curve. Price sensitive customers may choose not to request a ride, which helps ration limited supply. Second, for supply, higher prices act as a powerful incentive. More drivers are encouraged to start working, which increases the quantity of ride supply. As you can see in the diagram, this leads to a new market equilibrium with the higher price, but also a greater quantity of rides provided. To quantify this responsiveness, we calculated the price elasticity of supply. Using the midpoint method with the data provided, we found that when price increased from $10 to $15, the number of drivers increased from 100 to 200. This results in a price elasticity supply of approximately 1.67. Because this value is greater than 1, it tells us that supply is elastic, meaning a 1% increase in price leads to a 1.67% increase in the number of ride supply.
The second question explores how sharing economy platforms build trust. These platforms reduce what economists call information asymmetry, which is when one person in a transaction knows more than the other. Trust mechanisms like user ratings and reviews are crucial signals of quality and reliability. Before a transaction, they help users assess risk, which reduces the problem of adverse selection, like picking a bad quality provider. After a transaction, the knowledge that they will be rated motivates providers to maintain high standards, which reduces moral hazard. However, a major drawback in the system is bias and manipulation. Ratings can be subjective, unfairly low in retaliation, or completely faked. Often, only people with very good or bad experiences leave reviews, which creates a skewed picture. As an alternative, we propose a blockchain-based reputation system. This would use a decentralized and immutable ledger to record all transactions and reviews. Once a review is submitted, it could not be altered or removed. The advantage is that this could eliminate fake reviews and manipulation, increasing trustworthiness. The disadvantages, however, include high development costs and potential hurdles to user adoption due to the technology's complexity.
Our third question deals with the classification of workers in the sharing economy. The main economic reason that platforms classify workers as independent contractors is to reduce labor costs and increase flexibility. This allows platforms to avoid paying for employee benefits, social security, minimum wage, and overtime, which means they can minimize their overhead. This classification, however, creates at least two negative externalities, which are costs imposed on society. First, we have increased strain on public safety nets. When workers lack employee provided benefits like health insurance or unemployment, they may rely more on public assistance, shifting the cost to taxpayers. There's also an underinvestment in human capital, which is the lack of job security and training incentives means that workers are less likely to invest in new skills, which can lead to less skilled workforces over time. To address this, we propose a policy intervention, a mandated portable benefit system. This would require more platforms to contribute percentages of workers' earnings into a central fund that the worker controls. The worker could then use this fund for things like healthcare or retirement. This policy would help reduce the strain on public safety nets, but it could also increase labor costs for platforms, potentially leading to higher prices for consumers.
We now turn to the problem of a small coastal town facing a housing affordability crisis driven by the rise of short term rentals or STRs. From an economist's perspective, this crisis is a classic market failure. The town's scarce housing stock is being systematically reallocated from the long term rental market, where residents live, to the more lucrative short term tourist market. This pursuit of private profit by STR operators creates a significant negative externalities for the local community. As shown by the Airbnb effect, where properties are converted from long term to short term rentals, the supply of housing for locals shifts to the left. Because the demand for local housing is inelastic, shocks the supply shock causes a large increase in rent, pricing out the local workforce. This creates conflict in four key areas. Firstly, the housing market, where rents and home prices are soaring. Secondly, the local economy, where benefits are concentrated among a few property owners, while the resident economy base is displaced. Thirdly, fiscal impact, where tax revenue from tourism may not be enough to cover the increased strain on public infrastructure such as waste or water services. And finally, social fabric, which is eroded as neighborhoods turn into tourist zones, displacing local culture. Our goal is to propose a set of policies that correct this market failure and rebalance the town's economy.
Our first solution is a market-based correction, a dynamic Pigovian tax on STRs. The goal of a Pigovian tax is to force businesses to internalize the social costs of their operations. This tax would be set at a higher rate than traditional hotel taxes to reflect the greater negative externalities that STRs create. The key feature is that the tax would be dynamic, rising during peak tourist seasons when housing strain is the highest and falling during the off seasons. This uses a market-based signal to discourage over tourism when the community can least handle it. Crucially, all revenue from this tax would be earned market to fund a community land trust, or CLT. A CLT is a nonprofit that acquires land to create and preserve permanently affordable housing for local residents. This policy creates a self-reinforcing loop. The activity causing the housing problem directly generates the funding for the long-term solution.
Now, a tax alone is not enough. We must also address the supply side of the equation. Our second solution is a strategy to directly incentivize the creation of more long-term rentals or LTRs. This solution has two main components. First, we would legalize and subsidize accessory dwelling units, or ADUs. The town should reform zoning laws to make it easy for homeowners to build small rental units, like granny flats, on their property. To speed this up, the town can offer grants or low interest loans for ADU construction, with the condition that the unit is deed restricted as an LTR for a minimum of 10 years. Additionally, we can offer tax abatements for STRs to LTR conversion. We can provide multi-year property tax breaks to any property owner who converts an STR back into an LTR and provides proof of a 12-month lease with the local resident. As the charts show, these policies increase the supply of LTRs, which shifts the supply curve to the right, leading to more available housing and lower rents for locals.
Our final solution provides a regulatory backstop, a vacancy-linked adaptive cap on STRs. This is not a blunt ban, but an intelligent data-driven tool. Here's how it works. The town will constantly monitor the long-term rental vacancy rate. When that rate drops below a critical threshold, for example 5%, it's a clear signal of a severe housing shortage. This low vacancy rate automatically triggers a temporary pause on the issuance of any new licenses for commercial, non-owner occupied STRs. Importantly, this cap targets the commercial operations that remove housing from the market while exempting residents who are just renting out a spare room. Once the LTR vacancy rate rises back above 5% threshold for a sustained period, the system automatically reopens, allowing new licenses to be issued through a controlled lottery. This mechanism protects neighborhoods when they are under the most pressure, but adapts as market conditions change.
In conclusion, we have proposed a three-pronged, mutually reinforcing policy solution to the town's housing crisis. First, a smart tax to correct the market failure and create a dedicated funding stream for affordable housing through the Community Land Trust. Second, supply side incentives to increase the stock of long-term rentals by encouraging ADUs and STR to LTR conversions. And third, an adaptive cap on commercial STRs, which is linked to real-time data to protect residents from displacement only when the market is critically tight. This framework is designed to be robust. To prevent a black market, enforcement will be self-funded using a portion of the tax revenue to identify and penalize illegal listings. Ultimately, the town council faces a strategic choice: maintain an extractive status quo or actively shape a sustainable and inclusive housing market. Our data-driven framework does not seek to harm tourism. It seeks to rebalance the economy. positioning the town for balanced prosperity where it can remain attractive to visitors while preserving its livability for the residents who make it a community. Thank you.